Hey, it's Clayton, and if you are experiencing relationship anxiety and you're feeling like this is sabotaging your connection with someone you love, I want you to pay close attention to the idea, the concept that I open up in this video, because I believe it has the power to shift you out of feeling insecure and into a place of feeling confident right now. It's a change of focus. That's going to be the invitation in this content. And I'm going to start with the ways that you may unknowingly be creating insecurity in your relationship by focusing on one of these two things. You may be focusing on your security coming from what you're doing in the relationship, or you're focusing your security on what you have in life and thinking that your security in the relationship comes from what you have. Now, there's an issue with this. There's a problem that occurs when we put our security in what we do or what we have. Let's start with doing. If you think that your security comes from what you're doing in the relationship, you may be living into the question, am I doing enough? Am I giving enough? Am I taking enough action? Am I texting enough? Am I giving enough assurance to my partner that I'm in this and I want to be with them? And what often happens is we create a dynamic that is unsustainable for us to continue. We might find ourselves overgiving and creating a certain sense of indebtedness in our partner, where they feel trapped or pressured to try to meet us and they can't. We may end up pushing them away with all of our action, which then has them distance themselves and create more insecurity and then more action on your part to try to keep the relationship going. You may be operating under the belief that if you were to stop taking action in the relationship, that the whole thing would fall apart, and that somehow the relationship's health is something that you have to carry on your shoulders like a burden, and that if you let go of that, then the whole thing falls to pieces and you'll be single and alone. Now, these are the beliefs that will uphold this idea that your security comes from doing, and we can see the ramifications of that if we live into that, because there's never something that you can do enough. And part of you knows that. Part of you realizes that you are building in something where relationships will feel exhausting. You'll feel like you have to take so much action to keep them alive that you might come to a point after a series of breakups where you're like, I'm just not built for this. I'm not built for relationship. For some reason, I just can't get it right. No one appreciates the way that I show up. And so if you can relate to that, know that you're not alone. This is actually a very common orientation of people that have an anxious attachment style. I'll link to another video where I talk about attachment styles in the description if you'd like to learn more about that. About a quarter of the population has this style of attaching. So that's what happens when we are focused on what we are doing in order to create security in the relationship. If we're making that primary, that's the place where we can feel confident, we're building in insecurity into the relationship because it's going to be exhausting and we can't really just keep it going over and over again. So the other way that people end up creating, and that you may be creating insecurity in your relationship and in yourself, is by thinking that your confidence and security come from what you have. So you might believe that the more you have, the more secure your relationship will be. And if you were to lose what you have, your partner would walk away from you. So here's some common things that people place their security in. They put their security in perhaps the wealth that they've been able to generate, or the wealth that they're currently generating. They might put security in the things that they have, like the toys they have, the real estate that they own, or maybe in some type of physical ability they have. They might put their security in there and think that the partner's with them because of this. You might put your security in your figure and think that if your figure changes, then your relationship will fall apart, or if your looks change, that your relationship will fall apart. Now, what this does is it creates insecurity because a part of us knows inherently that when we are putting our security in what we have, those things that we have may change. Our looks may fade with age. Our figure may change. The money that we generate may change. The things that we own could fluctuate. We don't have control over a lot of outside circumstances. We don't have control over any outside circumstances. And this will inevitably create an insecurity and a disempowerment with how we feel in the relationship. So what does one do if you can identify with focusing on what you're doing or what you're having as being your source of security in a relationship, and you're noticing how that creates an inner turmoil and a lack of footing or solid ground? What can you do? Well, my invitation in this video is to not put your source of security in what you are doing or what you have, but rather put it in who you are being. Who you are being. How are you showing up to your relationship? So let's just say that who you are being is an umbrella, and there's certain things that fall underneath this umbrella. How do you respond to situations? What are the standards and the values that you have chosen to live by that allow you to live in integrity and live a life of self-respect? What are the emotions that you are committed to cultivating within yourself on a daily basis so that you can feel empowered, maybe surrendered to life in a beautiful way, perhaps accepting of life? And how do you react to circumstances? Do you switch into victim consciousness and feel like life is happening to you? Or can you gently guide yourself out of that and move into a place where you are able to create with your circumstances and ultimately use whatever's happening in life, whatever life has dealt you as a hand, to be able to create with and to be able to carve your own character and who you are and what you stand for out of marble? That's what happens when you're focusing on your being, is you take the attention and the security off of the doing and the having, and you put it where it counts, which is the cultivating of inner security and who you are becoming, because you actually have control over that. You have control over how you respond to situations. You have control over how you interpret things that happen in your life. I want to just underscore something that may seem obvious after I say it, but whomever you're with right now that you love or feel very deeply connected to, they're not with you and they don't love you. They don't fall in love with you because of what you do or what you have. They fall in love with you because who you're being. And so if you have somebody who you think is falling in love with you because what you're doing or what you're having, then that might be a relationship to slow down and rethink whether that's really your person. But the people in the relationships that last, it's our being, who we are being in the relationship, that ultimately has each other fall for one another and to really build a foundation. So focusing on your being is the highest leverage point in the relationship. It is the place where it will only ripen with age. No one can take it away from you. A breakup can't take it away from you. Aging can't take it away from you. Natural disaster, an economic collapse can't take it away from you. And it allows you to find a source of security in who you are in this life rather than what you do or what you have. Who you are being is where your presence comes from in the relationship. It's what allows you to cultivate and create deep intimacy with your partner. So take what I've said today, allow it to impact you, allow it to impact your being, and shift your attention off of these things that are fool's errands that lead to insecurity, and have it be an invitation to begin to focus on what really matters, what you have control over, and surrender the rest, and see how that begins to impact your relationship. My name's Clayton Olson, and if you found this video helpful, subscribe to the channel. I've got more content like this that comes out on a fairly regular basis. And if you're looking for one-on-one support and you'd like to enter into a dialogue with me to cultivate your way of being and create what it is that you want in this lifetime, feel free to email me below or visit my website. All that stuff in the description below.